Welcome to the Fortcast. I'm Corey Easley, and you're watching Citizens of Fortitude.
Drop.
Corey, I'm pumped you're here, man.
I'm happy to be here.
Finally, we got a guest with more experience than we do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More podcasting experience. Yeah.
Corey, you've been doing
Not
your own
life
podcast for
No,
how
maybe.
long?
I've been doing my podcast since 2020. It was born in 2020.
That's awesome. And
Okay.
you get an episode out about every week?
Every Monday, it's called Corey Has a Podcast, and you can find it anywhere podcasts are found.
We're expecting big things now.
Yeah.
For the next half hour,
Yeah. At least
You're gonna
good
lead us
podcasting voice, if
on a
nothing
journey.
else.
Well, it's exciting because I'm talking to two people. Typically, I'm just staring at a wall in a room by myself.
Right. Because you do this. It's a solo pod.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So Corey's one of our coaches for the tens of you watching this who might not know. And it's been almost like a year now that you've been.
It's getting close.
When did you start?
I started officially in July, but I think I walked in here in May and I met Jess and Kyle.
Yeah.
Immediately.
There's a little gap between you starting and when we met you the first time.
Yeah, I had gone away for a couple of weeks, but I got to come in and train with the team, and it was like unlike anything that I had ever.
And you were at Equinox, right? We stole you away.
Stole me away from Equinox.
Right. So what's the big difference? What's the big difference between, you said it was like nothing you've ever done before, but clearly you've been in gyms and like lifting weights, and it's not like you came in and you weren't in shape. So what was like the big thing that made it different?
Well, just like the atmosphere was, everybody kind of, I felt like I saw what you guys were trying to create. And it was the coaches were this unit, and everyone was not only being educated, but also like educating the clients. But like, I feel like as a coach and as a trainer, I'm always going to be learning. Like I'm always going to be doing continuing education in some way. And I felt like you guys are just always still drilling that into our minds. Like there's something new to work on. There's something new to learn. When we're training, we're practicing. So we can deliver the message better. And we're all kind of like on the same page with it.
Definitely.
So I really appreciated that camaraderie that I saw. And you don't see that when you go to a regular gym. It's kind of like...
Yeah. I feel like when you go most of the time, when you go into a gym, it's like, this is who we are. This is what we do. They kind of get really entrenched in that, and they stay in that world. And then that's great because you can go really deep into whatever that is, but it doesn't really evolve. Like there's not a lot of gyms that you go into and they're like, we're all about wherever this is going. We're on this train. We're following this path. We're trying to figure stuff out. And we've always kind of been like that. And I think the nature of the way that we program things every 4 weeks, it totally shifts. We start over in a new program and we do it from scratch, and we take the information of how it's been going over the last 3 months and we put it into the next phase. It forces us to keep adapting.
Yeah, for sure. It's like really, and when you first walk in, you're like, you might have seen an ad on social media or something, and you walk in and you look around and you're like, how the hell did they make this happen? Or why is this on this side of the room now? Or why, like, and it's just somehow, I think of it like I'm on like this movie set that like we could be at an amusement park or we could be in a library. Like, and there's nothing that's like off limits or impossible. It just feels like that all the time. Not only with the programming, but even just like the flow of the way the gym is set up from when you walk in to when you leave, Yeah.
I think one of our fears always has been becoming too dogmatic, which is like a kind of a classic thing in fitness, maybe in any industry. I don't know. I don't have experience in a lot of other industries, but we never want it to be like, well, this is our way and we're setting our way and this is it. No, do we have ideas of what we think works? Sure. Like we have enough evidence to know that we think, but I think we're also very open-minded to like, how do we change it? How do we make it better? How do we develop something new? How do we borrow from this thing or steal from that guy? I think it's just a big part of kind of what we do, and ideally what you're describing of like this kind of feeling of newness every time you walk in, and it just feels like something a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
So more about you, where you came from. You weren't always in fitness.
No, I was not. I was not always in fitness.
What's your background? Where did you get started? What led you to this point?
So fitness is something that became important to me kind of like around, I want to say 14 years old. All the adults in my family were just kind of out of shape, didn't really necessarily know much about nutrition, so they just did what they could. And you know, like my mom said something hilarious to me a couple weeks ago. She goes, "I've been eating healthier. I put chicken fingers on my pizza now." And I'm like, like, she really said, she was dead serious.
Nice.
Like it was not a joke.
That's
And I'm
great.
like, yeah, this is the woman who was in charge of what I ate as a child. So for me, and my parents weren't together, and my dad was always kind of fit, you know, he was into like bodybuilding and stuff, and he was in the army, but my parents weren't together and they did not have a good relationship kind of until I got like older, where they're just able to be in the same room. So I saw that my dad was fit. I saw that my mom didn't know much about nutrition, and like kind of just like old school, just I want to fatten you up, because if my kid's fat, then it looks like I take care of my kid, you know. And I started reading Men's Health and Men's Fitness, and I was like watching wrestling and stuff, and I saw all these dudes, and I'm a huge superhero comic book nerd, so I would see all these dudes that were like jacked and fit, and I'm like, man, like I'm not gonna get fit eating Big Macs. Also, why can I eat 2 Big Macs and I'm 13? You know what I mean? Like, so I started like noticing that these things were not good, and I just wanted to actively like start doing it myself, and I did. I was like 14, so I was a little kid, I was skinny, then I got really chubby, and I started having all these health problems when I was like in second, third, fourth grade. Like I started having like bad asthma, couldn't run down the block, I'm with breathing machines and stuff like that in the hospital.
Whoa.
Like from just like running down the street. And
Do you still have asthma?
I don't think I do.
Okay, but like there was that period.
But that time, it was bad. Like I was getting hospitalized over it, and I was just like, this sucks. My mom's babying me too much. I love my mom. Me and my mom have a great relationship, but my mom was babying me too much. I wasn't into it. Started changing the way I ate, which offended my mom a little bit, because she was like, "What? I made lasagna," you know, and it's like, yeah, but I'm gonna eat this grilled chicken and this broccoli. And I was doing this at a young age.
How old were you at this point,
like,
when you started actually
getting
changing
into the
what
kitchen,
you were eating?
and like I was like 14.
Wow.
Wow.
And every day I started doing 100 push-ups,
Wow.
100 jumping jacks, 100 crunches in my room every day, twice a day. And then when I finally I actually was in high school, I started going to the weight room and, you know, being around guys that were lifting weights and like around the athletes in there. Played a little bit of football. That didn't really last that long. But I just was like in the weight room trying to learn and be around people that I could learn from. But then I didn't do anything with sports. I just kind of started working on the glory muscles and trying to look jacked in a t-shirt once I got to college, and I was just around girls and wanted to look good around the girls. So I was working in fashion. I worked for Club Monaco, which
High
there's
fashion.
actually one right there on the
on the
corner.
Yeah. Pass it every day. Did you work at that location?
No, I worked down in Soho.
All right.
I worked in Soho, and then later I ended up working in luxury for a company called Brunello Cucinelli, and I worked for them for like 8 years, and then I finally was just like, I'm gonna pursue a career in fitness, because this is something that I've always cared about.
Yeah, were you still working out when you were in fashion?
Still working out. I was still going to the gym. I was going to the bar every night too, but I was still going to the gym, and I just was like, I actually really care about this, and if there is a way that I could make a living doing this, I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And eventually, I mean,
Did you know anybody that was? Did you see anybody that was making a career in it or doing it?
I had a friend who I went to high school with, who's a bodybuilder, who moved down to Miami and just is a trainer and a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He like competes and
Right. But he got attention
and
doing it.
I kept seeing him, and I was just like, man, this dude is like did he have to move to Florida to do that? Or can I do that in New York? Like,
Right.
I just always had this mentality like, oh, if you want to do something like that and you're not like some dude who graduated with a degree and something really valuable, then you got to leave New York. And I'm like, I grew up here. I don't want to leave here. This is my favorite place. So I think I had to like change the way I was thinking about. I didn't want it to seem like it was impossible. I was like, there has to be a way. There's people that do this. I want to be one of those people. So I walked into Equinox and I was like, hey, you guys hiring? Really easily got the job. But that's because I think what you don't realize when you go into this is like, oh yeah, this is kind of like you get the job, but you have to like create business. And I think it was really important for me to be there before I even ended up finding the Fort and meeting you guys, because I feel like it's like a way to like kind of pay your dues before you come in. Like I had to create business from scratch, kind of be creative and try to retain clients on my own, like keep them coming back, program for everybody.
You understood the full circle of it. Like the acquiring the customers, keeping the customers, delivering results for people.
Being on time.
Yeah.
Like
you were your own business. I mean, even though you were working for Equinox and they give you those resources, like it's really on you.
Yeah. So if you don't do anything, you don't make any money and you don't eat.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, which is kind of cool. And I think it was a cool place for me to put myself in because I was so uncomfortable. And I just like coming from like growing up in a neighborhood that wasn't great, my mom was always trying to make sure, she was always trying to like protect me, which kind of eventually as I got older kind of annoyed me. And then I was trying to just be tough and be just this dude who was on his own. And I still was falling into these comfortable situations. So like the moment I walked away from like my retail job and said, I'm gonna dive into fitness because this is what I care about and I'm gonna make this happen. And then I was like, whoa, this is hard. Like this is not like, even just like for your mind, like just looking at your bank account all the time and going, can I afford to buy a Metro card and put food in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can I eat and travel on the same day?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think personal training gets like undersold on how challenging it is. Like the schedule is very challenging because most people work like really early mornings and then have to come back and work late evenings. And then you're, trying to run home to get to bed so you can get back up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do it all over again. And it's just like you described, that hustle is tough. Like you got to get people, you got to make sure they're happy. You got to program for them. It's like, I feel like people are like, oh, I'll, get an hourly job and make some money that way.
I think the hardest part for me was believing I was worth something that people should buy. And it took time for me to believe it. I was in good environments. Like just being put at peak was really helpful.
Yeah.
Being around you was really helpful. But it was probably years before I felt worth it. Before I actually felt like, yeah, people should pay me this amount.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like I was going to get into that next. It took me a while to like be able to tell people my price. Like this is what it costs to do this with me. And in the back of my mind, I'm like you kind of feel a little bit like a fraud for a while.
Early on, yeah.
Like I'm just asking this person to give me money to tell them to get into a plank.
Yeah. Because a lot of times too, early on, it feels so commonsensical. You don't understand the depth of what you're delivering for people.
Yeah. You also forget that like we do this all the time. Like the average person doesn't necessarily know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how important it is for them to make an investment in themselves. Like part of the price is them making it matter. And them making it matter is really important to them getting a result. If it doesn't matter to them, they won't get the result. It's actually part of the result.
Yeah. So clearly one of the big differences between what we were doing before and the one-on-one personal training in Equinox and hustling your own clients and making it all happen on your own is, now you're in a place where, you do have camaraderie of coaches and you are like in a community of people who, kind of come together a little bit more for the cause of training and training together and suffering and struggling and succeeding alongside of each other. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like what has that difference been like? How does that enhance your training or your professional career?
I think a huge thing for me was, I came from this mindset of, before I got here, I quit drinking. I used to drink like every single day of my life.
This is like Fashion Days?
This was Fashion Days. Okay. I was doing comedy. I was doing improv. I got into stand up, and I was
later nights
doing shows late nights out at the bars.
Yeah.
All the time. But even like going home, and like it got to a point where like I was like sneakily getting as drunk as I possibly could, and I just did it for a long time. And it took like it wasn't like, people will be like, oh, I got tired of having hangovers. I wasn't really having bad hangovers. I was just really like strongly starting to dislike myself.
It's like your conscience.
Yeah, I just was like, this is not the guy that I want to be. And also, there's people that respect me, and if they saw what I was doing behind closed doors, they probably wouldn't feel the same ways. Like, their perception of me would be different. And I don't want to be the kind of person that like it's my responsibility to maintain some image, but like I also just want to have integrity and like actually practice what I preach. So I went from having this attitude of I can do this all by myself and I need the hustle and I can't worry about other people and I got to move faster than this person because I need to take care of, like, I was just kind of just this like single tunnel vision, wasn't worried about being a part of a unit, didn't want to be part of a unit, very closed off. And then when I came here, I really decided, like I actively said to myself, I'm not going to be closed off anymore. I'm not going to be closed off to making new friends. I'm not going to be closed off to being a part of a team, getting involved in team activities, being enthusiastic about like where I'm at. I just had like all these walls that I put up. And once I let those walls down, like good things started happening almost immediately.
And you kept following along with those clues.
Yeah, because it's like, if this is good, then what else can possibly be good? Right.
Where could it go? For sure. And once you start figuring that out, you start like paying attention to the little clues that life gives you, and you start like making progress toward things. It really opens up the potential of like where this could go. At least that's how it went for me. Yeah. And then you start seeing like limitless potential. Then you start seeing, well, like all these people that've really gone all in and where they've ended up, and you could totally be one of them. Well,
for sure. And then I'm just in an environment, like I get to be around you guys on a daily basis, right? I get to be around the other coaches. I get to be around some of our members who are just some really interesting and incredible people. Like I enjoy seeing everyone all the time. These people walk in the door and you're just like, oh man, it's you. Like it just kind of, you can really start to lean on each other. No matter what kind of day you're having, I feel like I walk in here and everything else doesn't necessarily matter that much to me because I'm in this place. And I don't know. I feel like we all kind of have just created such a good space for that.
Right. So, so this was like a pretty radical change from like stand-up comedy, drinking every day, being out in the bars, all that other stuff. Like, tell me a little bit more about like the flip side of that. Like, how was it? Because I'm sure you had to drift away from certain people. And, like
that's
kind of cut a little of that out of your life. Like, how did that go? And like, what was that experience like?
I actually had like, I didn't want to fall out with people, but it's just really interesting when you kind of start deciding that you have had enough of being self-destructive, how the tables, like your relationship with people will just kind of you'll realize what that person viewed your relationship as. Like I remember talking to some people being like, man, I miss when you told me you were gonna like you quit drinking. I got upset because I'm like, damn man, we used to do this together. And it's like, yeah, but I'm still here. I don't have to do what you're doing and we could still have fun. Like I didn't quit drinking and lose my ability to hang out. I just quit drinking and honestly became more present. I wasn't really a great person to be around when I was drinking. I was like too busy focusing on, like if I was having a conversation I didn't want to have, I would just like, all right, whatever. Like I'm not present.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm just too busy worried about boozing up and falling asleep and getting in this time machine where I would wake up the next day and just do it again.
Yeah.
You know? And I had people, like I had a falling out with a friend who I thought we were really cool. I thought you would think that people would be happy for you because you're making a positive change in your life. And that's not always the case. Even my dad, like initially, my grandfather died in 2014. Sometimes I think it's 2014. Because he was a major alcoholic. So it just killed him, right? And then it made me realize that there's no old men in my family. So all the old men were alcoholics and drug addicts, and most of them are dead. Like, so I watched my dad, who is a bit of a heavy drinker sometimes, and I told him, I said, hey, Dad, in the beginning, I was too scared to say what I was doing because I felt like I was going to be judged. I was afraid of stupid things like, oh, people are going to think I'm lame. Maybe I'm going to become lame. Maybe I'm going to be boring. Maybe no one's going to invite me to stuff. And then I was like, if these things are more important to me than my mental health, then I need to like
check your priorities. Yeah.
Check my priorities for sure. So like I told my dad, I said, hey Dad, I am gonna take a little bit of a hiatus from drinking.
Would you drink with your dad ever?
Yeah, me and my dad one time each drank our own bottle of Hennessy and then went to the store and got another one that we started drinking from. And we would just do that. And a couple of times we just got into shouting matches with each other where we just woke up the next day and just like, and it happened multiple times. And I'm like, is this what I do? I just get wasted with my dad and we yell at each other?
That's crazy.
Like this is normal?
Yeah.
In front of people. Like people would be there just watching us do it. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I called him. And he was like kind of like busting my chops about it. But then he called me.
I'm just like a quick question. Has your dad ever like made an attempt to stop or said anything about like cutting back or anything like that?
He said, now I just have a glass of wine.
Huh.
You know, like he's done that thing.
He's said, yeah.
But it's like, I just think replacing booze with booze is funny to me. It's like, you know, that's not really doing it, right?
Yeah, it's still at its core. It's the same thing. You're getting the same thing.
So, and obviously, like I get older, I'm looking at my parents, and I'm like, I care about you guys. Like my mom's putting chicken fingers on a slice of pizza. That's also not good either.
Right.
But I can't. I have to break these cycles. I don't want to be doing what either of them do, you know? Mm-hmm. I care about them deeply. But so I said to my dad, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be drink. Or like I would go to his house, hey, can I get you a drink? And people, like, it's almost like they forget how to entertain you. It's like, yo, I'm cool with like a LaCroix.
Yeah.
You know, or a cup of tea.
Did you quit cold turkey or was it like a weaning off?
I quit cold turkey.
You just stopped?
I went to a birthday party in November. It was a friend of mine's birthday party, a good friend of mine, down in Brooklyn, sitting outside. And I must have probably had like 12 beers and like a bunch of shots. And when I went home that night, I just was like, I didn't feel great. I was drunk and whatever, but I woke up the next morning and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm over this.
Wow. And that was it.
And then I just stopped doing it. And what I did was I pulled out this index card and I put a tally on it every day that I woke up and did not have a drink.
Wow.
And then I ended up filling up this whole card.
That's what I was going to get to. Like, do you remember how many tally marks you got to?
I could probably find it. I could probably find this card, but it was a lot. It was like the whole index card was full on the front and the back eventually.
Wow. Cool.
And now I just stopped doing it because once I got past a year, I was like, I don't even think about it.
Part of you.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, it's just how I live now. You know, so, and I've been to plenty of birthday parties. I've been to weddings. I've been to all types of events. And I think it's cool that someone can enjoy drinking and do it properly. I just know that I'm not one of those people. Like, I know that if I have one drink, I'll have 12 drinks. And I'm not exaggerating by saying 12. Like, 12 is just a regular number to me.
Yeah.
So,
well, in this point too, you've made like this sort of rule for yourself that's really simple, and it's worked. And like it's a clear, defined line for you.
Yeah.
And like, why change it if it's been good?
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is like, it's a good strategy. Like, I did the same thing with food when I like didn't want to be a fat guy anymore. It's almost the exact same story. I had like this birthday dinner with my friends. My future wife put it together. It was great. It was like ribs and chicken and all this other stuff that I liked. It was awesome. And then at the end of it, I was just like, yeah, that's it. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, immediately when I was done. And I actually stuck to it. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of power in just like making because some people will say like moderate and like try to wean off, and that can work too. But I love the idea of just being like, yeah, I'm just going to try to be a different person right now. Mm-hmm. It's powerful. I'm glad it worked.
Yeah, you can just do, like, I think people don't realize that, or everything seems like a bigger deal than it is, or like it's going to be harder to do. The hardest thing I ever quit was smoking cigarettes. That was the hardest thing for me. I think it took me like 4 tries because something would happen, but I was still drinking a lot. So I could convince myself of anything. I have like a super active imagination. I could convince myself that there's a monster under this table. I just could, you know? So of course I could have something happen at work and me go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go buy a pack of smokes about this. Yeah. And I don't want to be that person. I feel like, and this is the thing, like now I went from being in an environment around people that like, we all just enabled each other to just continue having perpetuate this behavior. And it was just regular. It was normal. It was normal for us to just walk out of the bar at 3 a.m. and walk into the bar at 5 p.m. the next day. Like, hey, remember last night? That was crazy, right? And that was just what we did. And now the people I'm around are talking about, oh God, I went to bed at 11. It was so late. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No trainers go to bed at 11.
Yeah.
You got to be in bed before 11.
Try to. It's hard.
9:37 is my bedtime.
Yeah. If I'm not in bed by 10, I'm upset.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get up early.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It is interesting though. Even like, I find that like how you were saying, like you could be a better friend by being more present, which is totally true. But I think it's very hard for people who experience you in one way to kind of see you in another way. Like even my parents who wanted the best for me, and like physical fitness and stuff is not their priority. Like it's not, in my family, it's just not like a high priority thing. But you know, for a long time, they couldn't understand like why I wasn't eating the cake when I would go home. Mm-hmm. Like they had a very hard time with it. And I don't think it's that they wanted me to not pursue what it is that I wanted to do. I think quite the contrary. Like any caring parent wants their kid to like pursue the things that are important to them. But it was just like, that's just not how they experienced me. And it's very tough, even though I'm trying, in your case, even more so, trying to be like a higher, better, more pure, more present form of yourself. Sure. And people just really struggle with that. Like it's interesting. And I think it's just like, it's a real important testament to like social circles and like really being around people who believe in you and support you. It's like a big part of it. And when you don't have that and you have to create it yourself, it's like, it's just another step and another big hurdle to overcome, but you did it.
And you're always going to have those people that want you to be the same. Like you're not going to get rid of your parents or your family, or
of course
like
not.
Your really close friends.
Yeah.
They're always going to see you in a certain light. But that, I think, is why it's so important to like find a circle of people that are also growing. Like, don't look, you could get embedded with a bunch of, people at the bar that are sitting at the same bar, same time every day, and they're not doing anything, and it's going to be the same story. But you could also get embedded with people at, at like woodworking class, or like a gym
100%.
or a church, or like where people are trying to like grow and develop and improve themselves. And when you're around those people, they want you to grow. They're there to grow.
Yeah.
And like embed yourself in little pockets with other people that are trying to expand themselves in some way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's so many communities. There's so many different types of, like, there's people that just like plants. Like, you can go, and there's apps for this.
well, like
Yeah.
even your improv classes, or like stand up events. Like, those are people that are trying to develop. They're trying to improve the skill of stand up, or improve their art, right?
Yeah.
Just being around those people.
Yeah.
They're going to encourage you to do it because they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it brings this conversation kind of full circle back to, like, you cannot do it on your own. Like, if you want to experience your highest, best self, it is essential to be around other people who are doing it. If you want to be a great musician, you need to be around other musicians. It won't happen otherwise. Like, you need influences. You need other people to be around. If you want to get in the best shape possible, you need to be around other people trying to get in the best shape possible. It just shortens the learning curve so much. Unless you're, like we've talked about this before, unless you're a very unique person, like, it's almost impossible to do on your own.
Yeah, like, it is a requisite. You must do it. You must find people that are doing that as well. You got to embed yourself with them somehow. See them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're slugging it out in the corner of Corey's old Equinox by yourself, find other people.
Find them.
Yeah.
They're out
can do
there
it.
too. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like,
They're there.
It's
Yeah,
all
they're
it's,
there.
it's all been done, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not the first person that thought about doing this thing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other people like you. If you can connect with them, you
Yeah.
could build something amazing.
Oh, it's awesome. You'll help them. They'll help you. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. I took my kid to school the other day and I had time to kill. So I went to a retro fitness. Do you know
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
First of all, I loved it. I loved
Awesome.
it. I loved it. It was an old powerhouse gym. They turned into a retro fitness. I
Yeah.
loved it. But there was a dude there, like every stereotype of like a guy who would be in a retro fitness at like 12 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And he was dying to talk to me. Dying to, because he's like, oh, there's another guy here. Like, he looked at me, he's like, oh, we're like kind of the same age, and you're like a big dude. You must be into this. Oh my God, there's someone I can talk to.
Yeah,
and that's just a great feeling. Like, it's like it's essential.
We reach out to each other. I remember when I was reading *Sapiens*, and they talked about when sapiens got to Australia, and there were so many different types of marsupials, and there was like this giant rodent that was like huge. It was probably like the size of like a horse maybe. and we killed them off and they're extinct. But I kept thinking every time I read that, I was like, there's no way that one person did that. Like, they brought this thing down together.
Yeah. We do really well together.
We do great together.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took out the new Neanderthals because we work better together. They were stronger. Like, they were more powerful. They had most of the attributes that humans did, but they didn't work very well together.
Right.
We figured that out, and look at us now.
Look at us now.
creating places where we can just
Yeah.
get stronger, fitter, faster together, and enjoy the process just for our own life fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Both ridiculous and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, that's an awesome place to wrap up. We are Fortitude Strength Club, aka the Fort, where our mission is to create environments where we take training seriously and
take this seriously and do what
do
works.
what works, so that people can experience their most powerful selves.
Yep.
All right. Till next time. I'm Kyle Fields.
I'm Dan Trink.
and this was Corey Easley.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.